Alexander led the school children to his apartment, locked the door, and ordered them to go to the bedroom. As soon as the company entered the room, the maniac took out a knife and killed the teenagers one by one, and then put the bodies in a corner, covered with a rag, and waited for his mother.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Coffee and Crime, me. Finally got my first negative remark, negative comment after a month of doing this. And like my mom always said, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. So if you don't like what I'm doing, please forgive me, whatever you don't like, and, you know, move on past. I appreciate it. Those of you who stay and have subscribed, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your comments. I've had some really nice comments. Sorry, my cat's acting up. He seems to do that every time I'm on doing a video. Content creators spend a lot of hours and a lot of their time and a lot of days trying to make things entertaining, and, you know, the research and everything else, and it's just not right. It's not fair to be so negative. I've seen a lot in all my research I've been doing. I see a lot of people say a lot of things that are just rude and negative, and I don't understand that. It's someone's literally taken all this time to just, you know, give you information and talk to you about things that they thought were interesting. You know, the best thing to do is just ignore them. Scroll on past if you don't like it. I don't. And I don't do drugs. I smoke like a chimney, and I drink coffee. But, so just go ahead and say that. A lot of times I work hours on end, and I am exhausted, and I'm very nervous with ADHD. So, if that makes people think I'm on drugs, then I'm sorry. That's just my personality. But for some of you, the ones who have stayed and are subscribers and make the sweet comments you've made, you guys are why I keep doing this, and you guys understand and seem to be my people. So I appreciate you guys. So, and if you're new to my channel, I have a lot of energy. I move a lot, so I try to keep it, you know, one tone and not, you know, too much going on. But I hope you enjoy what I do, and it'd be nice to, you know, get a lot of get some positive, or, you know, comments. I really enjoy it. That makes my day. It makes this worthwhile. So you guys that are here, that stuck around and watch my videos, you guys are who I do it for, not the negative people. So today it's gonna be hard on me, especially if my animals acting up. So bear with me. This is a story from Russia, and from the 1990s, and it come from the other day. I was bored, and I was going through the horror films in my movie app, and I found No Tears in Hell, and I was like, this is crazy. And, you know, me and my husband was thinking about it. I was like, is this real? Sure shit, it's real. It's real life. This guy didn't not only committed murders, but his mother helped him. I'm going to be looking at my notebook over here a lot, so I wrote down everything, and I do all that so that I know what I'm talking about, because I do not have a good memory. But so that's why I'm looking off this way all the time. But I hope you all enjoy the story as much as you can. I mean, it's trigger warning, rape, cannibalism, torture, you know, all kinds of terrible things. It's pretty awful. So if that triggers you, please turn this off right now, and I'll get right to it. Thank you guys, and if you like it, like I said, like and subscribe, please, and comment if there's a serial killer or a story that's not well known that they didn't publicize, and I'll look into it, and I'll do something on it for you. So anyway, thank you for checking me out. Let me start off by saying this case is difficult for me because every article I've read, and I've read every article there is out about him, has different accounts of the story. And I'm trying to figure, I hope I tell the story accurately. It's one article saying that he was bullied, another article saying that he bullied. So I'm assuming he was bullied, and then who got bullied? He turned it around and started bullying them. And I'm just using common sense for a lot of this to figure it out. So bear with me. I hope that I tell the story accurately. If I mess up a little bit on some of the facts, just know I've investigated it for days and read about it, and I just come to the conclusion to figure out which stories match up the most. So, anyways, I can tell you about the movie I watched, and like I said, based on true story movies, always embellish. They don't always tell the true facts, or they change names, or they change storylines around in it. So, I'm just trying to figure it out. So I hope it's all right. Russian criminology experts believe that he's one of the most brutal and dangerous maniacs that ever was on the territory of Russia, and there's been a lot of bad guys there. His crimes were assisted by his mother in front of the eyes of his sister. So imagine that, growing up seeing your mother and your brother doing these things. They still experience fear and they hope and pray that he stays in prison forever. Well, behind bars forever, because he's not in prison. Alexander was born underweight and on March 1st, 1970, in the city of Novokuznetsk. As a child, he was frequently ill. Until the age of 12, he slept in the same bed with his mother. His father was an alcoholic, and he physically abused the mother and Alexander, until finally the mother kicked Alexander's father out, or he abandoned them. From different articles say different things, but either way, eventually he was gone, and just the mom to take care of them. She fully devoted her life to her son. She had a daughter though, but he was her. Like I said, he was born sick, so he was born extremely small and sick, and I guess that kind of does something to you. Makes you more protective of your child, maybe created a stronger bond with the two of them. I don't know. But unfortunately, our child was growing more sicker, like mentally. He became more aggressive and withdrawn. At an older age, he became more inadequate. He started writing filth on the walls, like inappropriate words, and hanging nasty pictures all over the place. He was aggressive to his classmates. And I guess at some point they were bullying him. Then I guess he started bullying them again. But from what it says, lots of creativity. He came up with different ways of bullying them. His mother, however, never paid attention to his actions, and she was attributing to this behavior. She seemed to cater to his dominating behavior towards the students. Like, praised it in a way. I guess she thought because he was bullied, but from what I see, he took bullying back to really bad lengths, bad levels. He says he was sadistic and terrorized people. So, yeah, that's not good. But his mother, never paid attention to his actions and was attributing to this behavior, this dominating behavior amongst the other students. She never listened to the teachers. She never took their warnings seriously, and she refused to talk to them, call, and she wouldn't. She didn't care. Her son did no wrong. And a sense of permissiveness and impunity completed the formation of him. The fact that he had no rules, he had no consequences. Alexander didn't care about anybody else other than the fact that he knew he'd always have his mom to protect him, no matter what he did. He knew he could do anything, and she would be right there. Obviously, he had no friends during his childhood due to his aggressive behavior. All he had was her. Alexander's mother, her name was Ludmila Yakovlevna, and she was working as a manager at school until she got fired. She was stealing plumbing equipment. And the kicker of it all is after stealing, she ended up getting a job as a secretary for a lawyer in the court. She had access to crime scene photos and things like that, and she had some morbid thing where she liked she had a morbid fascination with death. She didn't act on it like, killing people or anything like that, I guess, until her son grew up and he started to get, the same morbid ways as her. I guess, I don't know how that goes, if that's passed down or what, but she would bring him the photos of the crime scenes and the dead bodies and the, things, and 'cause she knew he liked it, and he was very passionate about it, and he got very sexual, and he even told his mother that it turned him on, and she didn't care. She was just happy to see a smile on his face, so she just accommodated his morbid fascination and kept bringing him home, and they would look at him together and talk about it. Strange. And she just decided she's going to do whatever it is that he needs to make him happy. That was her mission in life. Anyways, in 1991, Alexander met Eugenia Golsonikova. She was 4 years younger than Alexander. They had a romantic relationship. It was very sweet. He was very sensitive, and very enduring. Loved her. He wrote her poetry. He bought her candy. He bought her flowers. His mother and his sister were all excited, and they just wished them happily ever after. Happily in love, as they said. So the lovers decided to buy an apartment together and start their lives. But the bliss didn't last long. They began arguing about petty things, small things, nonsense, basically. And the last fight they had, he just lost his head and lost control and beat the pulp out of her. She started crying, told him that the relationship was over. Well, Alexander couldn't restrain himself. He started beating her more, even harder, and then
It all ended with him beating her to such a state that she ended up in hospital with a head injury. Having beaten the girl, Spesivtsev did not think of leaving her alone. He came to her room and again attacked her with his fists. The girl was saved from new injuries by the nurses who arrived in time. After that, Eugenia decided to cut off all contact with Alexander and start a new life. But he had other plans. Spesivtsev deceived the girl to his home to never let her out.
he tied her to the bed and locked her in the apartment. Within a month, Alexander systematically beat and mocked Eugenia in every possible way, every day, every minute of every day that he was around her. And it took a month before the family started worrying and finally got a hold of somebody and decided to turn him into the police. It was too late by then. She was found bedridden in very serious condition. Despite the efforts of doctors, she couldn't be saved. She officially died from sepsis, but her whole body was covered in these bad wounds, purulent wounds. putrid smelling, bad pus legions all over her, and it was hard for the doctors to determine the actual cause. But they knew it was because of him, but they couldn't necessarily prove it was a murder, But, I mean, he contributed to everything, so, he ended up, because of his actions, he didn't go to jail. He ended up being found mentally ill by the commission, and instead of prison, went to oral psychiatric facility. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, and only 2 years after murder, kidnap, beaten, abuse, he was released. But no notes have been made about his discharge. They didn't write it, and they didn't have on file that he was discharged. According to their files, he was still there. He's still a resident of the psychiatric hospital. So authorities, anyone looking him up, would find that he was still locked up. I mean, you would think he would be locked up anyway. But like I said, incompetent doctors, incompetent secretaries, whoever, didn't do they didn't go through the channels properly. So he was still in the facility as far as the world knew. But that's where it all gets a little messed up, because even though he was deemed not a threat to society, and he was sent home medicated and had medications and prescriptions, I don't know if he stopped taking them or if he just got worse after what happened. And with her, he started, something triggered in his head that he became angry at the world. And he wanted revenge. He returned to his homeland, went on a hunt for inhabitants of Nukusnut, this place he lived, Novokusnut. And in early 96, 2 girls that were 20 to 25 years old became his victims. After rape, beatings, and murders, Alexander dismembered the corpses. And his mother knew about the killings, and she started helping him bury the victims. She loved him so much that she knew he had this bloodlust for people, and she wanted to accommodate his needs to the point where she not only lured people to him and helped him with it, she didn't want him to get caught. She wanted her baby safe and with her. She started taking them places, and she put them in buckets. She helped them by putting them in buckets, and late at night, when there were no lights on around the place, she would bury the remains in the wasteland or dump them in the river. So, in April through May of 1996, Alexander met 6 boys at the construction site of a store. And he lured them to his apartment, offering to steal from some apartment that he had keys to. He opened the apartment, these boys were only 12 years old, pushed them inside the living room. They tried to fight him off, but he ended up stabbing them over and over again with a knife.
It's just through here. I was gonna do my part.
Should turn on the lights.
Just stay close to me. The only way I knew how. I was gonna help eradicate this growing filth.
They died, and a few days later, he lured 2 girls, aged 12 to 14, lured them to the apartment with the ruse of selling them soap. His mother helped him, again, dump the remains in the river. 12 and 14-year-olds. These are children, little babies. With each murder, Alexander's mental disorder just progressed.
The days and nights have started to bleed together, and I can feel my bloodlust becoming more insatiable, more and more unstable.
There was not enough money for even food sometimes, so they began feeding the victims to the dog. That poor dog. Oh my God. So, June of 1996, 4 more people became victims of him. 2 girls, 1 woman in her 40s, and a man around 35 years old. The last 2 were never identified. All of them were killed, dismembered, and cut. Pork loins were made into them. In July, 19-year-old Natalia was killed in August. In August, 2 12-year-old girls were also killed. This all happened in 96. Imagine this, you're walking along the bank of the river, and all of a sudden you see a torso in the brush. This is what they were finding. They were finding arms, torsos, heads, severed pieces of body parts all over the banks of Abba. That's when they realized that there was a serial killer on the loose. Now, during this time, there was a series of brutal rapes and murders of children similar to what was going on with Alexander at the same time. But the maniac was located quickly. It turned out to be the unemployed Oleg Rylkov. At first he was mistaken for, Alexander, but then they soon the last 3 victims disappeared from the city. He was in custody. 3 more victims disappeared. So they realized there was 2 killers operating in the same vicinity. Talking about crazy. Experts couldn't establish the identity of all the victims. First of all, the law enforcement checked those who had previously served their sentences in prison or a psychiatric hospital. But this brings back what I was trying to get into earlier. Alexander was not on the list due to the fact that the botched up discharge, him being discharged and it not being recorded. It looked like he was still in the psychiatric hospitals, serving his 10-year sentence he was supposed to serve. Supposedly it was a rush in the discharge, and of course, like I said, incompetence and negligence from the doctors. So they didn't know, they didn't even have him up there on the suspect list because of the stupid things that the hospital did. The last of the teenage girls were lured to the apartment. Before I get more into that, I forgot to mention earlier, before he got released from the mental institution, he had another patient insert a metal ball into his urethra to make him more viral. Instead, it caused groin pains, and he developed erectile dysfunction, and they said, experts say, they believe that embittered him more, along with the fact that he hated the new dictator that had taken over. So that, along with, he was supposed to be on medication, and I'm guessing probably stopped his medicine. And like I said, the fact that his mom supported everything he did, he had nobody to tell him not to do what he was doing. So I meant to talk about that earlier, but I completely forgot about it. I can't believe I forgot about that. Him being in pain and having erectile dysfunction and all that, I think the authorities believe that prompted him to commit his first murder. He already had some hatred, but being in pain and the distaste for the dictator like he did had, he blamed the poor for the society's downfall. And it just, when you're in pain, it makes you do stupid things. But he went beyond stupid. It was horrible. So they believe his first crime started because of what he done in the mental institution, along with all the other stuff going around in the world. I don't know why he was so adamant about the downfall of society being a problem for him. I don't know why he's so adamant about making the poor suffer for society, and why he took it so personal, and how it affected him, and why he took it out on mostly children. I think he had a few adults, but like I said, it was, the low income, homeless, people poverty stricken, and that's as if they didn't have enough problems of their own, and it wasn't because they were easy prey or easy to hide either. I think the mom looked at it like that, to help her son out. She preyed on easy prey, to satisfy his hunger for destruction and death, but he felt like he was doing he had a good cause, like he was killing for a cause. So Alexander's mom was at a grocery store, and she saw a group of, I guess they ranged from 13 to 15. Now, what I was just discussing about the No Tears in Hell movie showed them as college students, and there was only 2. But in reality, there was 3. It was Kenya, I hope I said her name right, Natasha, and Olga. And what happened with them, though, was it's the same scenario. They got lured in, and then they get into the apartment, and they get cornered when they go to try to leave. When they got, spooked, they go to try to leave. Alexander and his dog, his Doberman Pinscher, corner them and scare, and that's when he kidnapped them, chained them all up to the battery at his house. And like I said, the first night Natasha got murdered because she kept escaping, breaking free, and screaming and drawing attention to his apartment. He killed her brutally, but he wasn't interested in killing the other girl. And I don't know when this took place, but Kenya's death was by the Doberman. The Doberman killed her, attacked her, and ate her. Olga remembered seeing the dog. She saw it licking the bones of her friend. But during this time, Alexander's sister periodically came to visit, and well aware of what was going on with the mom and the brother, and she didn't report it to the police. And all these horrors occurred in the apartment building. The neighbors heard the screams, they heard the groans, they heard the sawing, I'm sure. I mean, it was a small apartment building. They heard everything, and they smelled the smell, putrid, nasty smell. And they didn't call the police. Everyone just decided to let it happen. And they just thought that he was crazy. He was schizophrenic. He'd been in a mental institution. He's doing crazy shit. Just running around. I don't know. But they said because he was unbalanced, they just didn't think about it, Actually, him being unbalanced and schizophrenic should have set off more red flags, but I mean, who am I? I don't know. Police finally caught him, purely by accident. Like I said, it was a scheduled check-in for plumbing, and the plumber come up and was knocking at the door, and I don't know what took place exactly, but the municipal service officers had to come. They had to break in, he refused to open the door. With the help of the local police, the inspector entered a suspicious room, and their eyes saw something horrible. That's when they walked in and seen it. Not only was it a terrible sight, but like right when they walked into the apartment, into the door, they hit with a smell of decomposition, just horrible, kind of like with Jeffrey Dahmer, you know. There was a pan with half-eaten human remains on the stove. And in the bathroom was a child's torso with no arms, no legs, which he had made the other girl saw. You know, that was her friend. And the chest and legs of the child were right there in a steel tank. In one of the rooms near the battery, law officers found Olga, who was in extremely horrible condition. She was out of it. She was barely alive. She was taken to the hospital but died 3 days later, but not before she gave her statement as to what took place. So her last thing she did probably saved so many more lives, because God knows with this horrible duo how many were going to be next. So in her statement, Olga's statement, according to her, Alexander introduced himself as Andre to the victims. He didn't even tell them his real name. Poor girls didn't even know their real killer's name. But in her statement, she said that he killed Natasha, and at night he ordered us to cut the corpses into pieces so it'd be easier to hide the body. He gave us a hacksaw with a metal hacksaw. With it, we cut up the corpse, cutting meat from bones with a knife. He himself didn't do this. He only commanded us to. He fed the dog meat and bones. Xenia and I carried the cut-off parts to the bathroom, where we put them in the bath in the tank. Both the grandmother and the woman saw it all. She was talking about the grandmother and his sister. They saw it all, and they were present in the apartment. All the rest of the days he beat us, Xenia and I. He broke her hand, he broke her head. Several times he sewed her head himself with a simple needle and thread. Alexander fled the scene. He had climbed up the roof and escaped while the police were cracking the door open. But he couldn't handle being outside doing it for long. So he was eventually caught and was arrested because he went to the house and was hanging around his entrance. Of course, they wouldn't let him in. I wouldn't. During a search of the apartment, law enforcement officers found more than 80 sets of adult and children's clothing stained with blood, as well as jewelry, photographs, and despite the efforts of specialists from genetic laboratories, it was impossible to establish the exact number of victims. But in total, they found 19 murders were attributed to him. 100% positive there was 19. But only the last 3 could be proven because of the witness, I guess. In total, 82 sets of blood-stained children's and adult clothes, 40 pieces of jewelry, and many photographs of children were found in his apartment. And despite the fact that a whole genetic laboratory was taken to Novokesnik, which occupied a train car, the exact number of victims still couldn't be determined. At the interrogation, Alexander confessed to 19 murders. But then, referring to a damaged mind, he recanted his statement. However, the court recognized the maniac sane. They recognized him as sane and ordered him to imprisonment for the maximum possible time. 3 life sentences. And but shortly before the final verdict was passed, He again went under a psychiatric evaluation, and the opinions changed. The doctor said that they said that he was deemed mentally insane, and was sent to a hospital near Volgograd. So his mother, of 60 years old, willingly told the investigators about her involvement in all the crimes, but in the end she pleaded not guilty. The court sentenced her to 13 years in prison, and Alexander's sister was recognized as a witness and didn't suffer any punishment, even though she didn't report the crimes and she was there and didn't try to stop it. She was let off free. I don't agree with that. I think she should have gotten some time. Anyway, at the moment, Ludmilla was released in 2008. Now she lives with her daughter in the countryside, and no one knows them. They don't know who they are. I guess maybe changed their name. He'll never be free again, because in Russia, even there's no such law in Russia. There's an unwritten rule in the mental institution in Russia that the patient must spend at least half of their sentence in the facility. And so 3 life sentences, he would at least have to serve 1.5 life sentences in the mental institution. But even if he did somehow get released, he would go back. He would go to prison, because some of his crimes, according to what I'm reading, some of his crimes weren't considered committed during the time he was insane. So, no matter what, he's still gonna rot in jail, rot behind bars. Luckily, I mean, but I just wish it was a little more harsher than the mental institution. Things happen. Investigation. Police also discovered a diary that outlined some of Alexander's crimes. He confessed in the diary to 20 murders, although the evidence suggested he was responsible for more. Earlier I said that the neighbors didn't, report the crime, the sounds and the smells and all that, but obviously a couple did. And the thing is crazy, and this is what I've noticed in all my things I've been doing with the prostitutes and the homeless people, drug addicts, people that are disregarded by society. The investigations never get done properly because they just don't care. And had the police actually not ignored the complaints and stopped seeing it, they saw it more as a cleanliness and civil problem rather than a suspected homicide, and no officer ever came to investigate anything, and they never came to investigate the complaints, and they didn't even think to look up the history of the man in question. I'm pretty sure that they would have said that he was in the mental institution, but then they would have seen, that what he had done previously. That was the start of something, killing his girlfriend like that. He just went to a descent of madness. Not only did with the 3 girls, come to find out, the second girl, Xenia, was murdered by the Doberman, and Olga watched the murder of a friend happen. So even if she survived it, I don't think she would have been mentally able to live. She saw way too much, and it was just house of horrors. It was just something nobody should ever go through. It's just awful. And bless her heart, at least she got to put away on her last words, In the mental institution, he spends all his time undergoing psychiatric testing and writing poems about the evils of democracy. Asked how he justifies his crimes, and he says, theoretically answers, how many people has our democracy destroyed? If possible, if people thought about that, they wouldn't be in, if people thought about that, there wouldn't be any of this filth. But what can you do? His mother, on the other hand, has withdrawn into herself and hasn't uttered a word since her arrest. Alexander Burden, with the heart of a true black marketeer, wants to sell his head to some institute so they can study his brain and get paid in advance with cigarettes, he says. So basically the moral of the story is police didn't investigate thoroughly again. Innocent lives were taken by a maniac that believed he was cleansing society of dirty, nasty people that didn't deserve to be alive. And it's unfortunate that he looked at children this way. And there's nothing we can do to bring their lives back. But hopefully, maybe eventually, things will start getting better. Don't know. But anyways, that's a horrible story, and I hope that I did everything right and I said everything where you can at least understand most of it. And I hope you come back and see me again on the next one. Please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you.